this is Jamie Magridge. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'm going to show you how I made this card. It's a really simple one. Let's get started. I'm going to be using garden green ink and Memento. I'm going to be using the Simply Succulents. I'm using this sentiment and this stamp here out of it. That's all I'm using out of the stamp set. I am using the potted succulents dies that you can get with it. I'm using this one and this one. Okay. The paper, I have a card base. It's black. It's 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. I have a piece of white, which is 4 by 5 1/4 for the inside. This is garden green. It is 4 1/4 by 5.5, and I've already run it through that embossing folder. It's a really, not embossing folder, die. I've run it through my machine. It's a really good die. It only needed one pass through the machine, and it came out beautiful. I also die cut this die out of white. Then I have 2 strips. This is garden green. It is 1 1/4 by 5.5. I have a piece of, what is the name of this one? I've forgotten. Flower and Field Designer Series paper. This one, it's a free one from the celebration, I think. This one. And this is 1 inch. It's longer than 5.5 because I'll have to trim it afterwards. Okay, so let's get started. Let's go ahead and mount this first. Yep, I should have started my glue before I started. I'm going to center it top to bottom, but the sides are going to be the same. Get that all squared on there. Alright, and bring in a scissor. Trim off that end. I'm going to just butt it up against the paper and then snip that off. Okay, I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of it. Make sure it's not hanging over the edge. I always put more than I need. I just don't like it to be sagging and bowing. Okay, so we'll set that aside for a minute. I'll bring in this piece. I'm just going to put glue around this edge. I'm not putting any glue in the center at all. Just a tiny little bit of glue around this edge. This is the same size as the front of our card. So go ahead and mount that on the front of the card. Okay, we might as well mount the inside. I didn't even get an inside in that one. Come on. That's why I like the wet glue, because it gives me that little bit of space to wiggle things around. Okay, I'm going to bring in this piece. And I didn't mount my stamp even yet. So let's get those out. Just be careful when you take them out not to set them on paper because this will stick to them. I don't really need them this big, but that's alright. Okay, so bring in the garden green ink. I'm going to ink this up, the cactus. Be careful, I got along the edge there, so make sure you don't pounce that hard. Okay, I'm going to actually use the inside of my card because I'm going to stamp off. So I'm going to stamp it again, and I'm going to come to here and I'm going to stamp it, and then stamp it again. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my thanks. And I'm going to stamp that right in the center. Perfect. Finally re-inked my memento, so it's coming out nice. Bring in our card. And take all the backings off of these. Two more. Okay, make sure your flowers are going the right way. I'm going to mount this down here. It's about 1/2 inch from the bottom here. Try to make it straight if you can. I'm going to mount this directly to that layer. So I'm just putting the glue on the center there, right here. Then I took a bow I tied with the crinkled seam binding. I just added a bow right here to this corner. There we go. It's a very simple card. There's the one we just made together. Here's the one I did previously. Here's the inside. The hardest part is just fiddling, getting all the little pieces out. This is a really nice die. I ran it through once, one pass through my machine, and everything came out. Okay, well, thank you for joining me at Jamie's Craft Table today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.